Good afternoon, a warm welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I am excited to introduce to you a fabulous young lady who's going to join me right now. Welcome, Sarah. And you want to unmute yourself?
Okay. Sorry.
How many times has your husband wanted to mute you?
Right. That was on purpose.
So Sarah has joined my autistic team. She's been doing some training with me. She is a salon owner, lots of great experience, wonderful lady. She's going to be actually interviewing me as we go on this journey about the early days of my career. And it's been such an amazing career. You know, for those of you watching who are new to this industry, it's the most extraordinary industry because you can shape it any which way you want. You can travel the world. You can do the most extraordinary things. Because if you think about it, from the late Queen of England through to celebrities to the girl next door, if they've got hair on their head, they need a hairdresser. So you can play in any sandbox you want. And I think the greatest thing is to learn from somebody who's had the experience that I have had and hopefully teach you some profound lessons and mentor you so that possibly you can avoid some of the challenges or accelerate your goals and your dreams. So Sarah's here to kind of push a few of the buttons as we go on our lovely journey today. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Okay. So my first question for you is, how did you go from a lack of confidence to artistic director at Vidal Sassoon at age 23? That is so young.
Yes, and it was young, especially seeing as I was a very shy young lady. I was nervous and insecure. I didn't believe in myself, and I just never felt I was good enough, and I was not cool. I did not have that cool factor. I wasn't gothic. I wasn't punk. I wasn't retro. I was this girl with long ginger hair. And so I knew that the only way to get through my fears and insecurities was to study, 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 because I knew that the freedom would come through learning. And the more skill I would have, the stronger I would be. And I don't know how many of you can relate to this. Some of the most profound lessons of your life, some of the most profound challenges, we either win or we learn. And we learn more, unfortunately, from the failures, because I just want you to think for a moment, just take inventory on today of some of the great things that have already happened to you today. Number one, you're breathing. But, you know, I can list the great things that have happened today, but do I? Do I have to work out gratitude and appreciation every day? Because it's not until they're gone do I realize, oh my gosh, I was so lucky. Oh my God. And so that depth of appreciation and gratitude is so important. So I was very insecure, very shy. And I said, right, I'm going to work my little derriere off because I want to be good and I want to be skilled. And I was seeing my peers traveling the world, doing photo shoots, doing fashion shows, doing all these cool things. And I did enjoy being in the salon, but I just thought there's more out there than doing this. And so becoming an artistic director, what's interesting, the first time I was offered artistic director, I said no, because I didn't feel that I was worthy of it. And I said no. And so I became the youngest artistic director at that time that Vidal Sassoons had ever had, which was pretty powerful. And I love showing this image here, Sarah, because there I am.
I love it.
I know, with the Grandmaster Vidal. And how many of you can recognize some of these famous faces? How many of you remember Yosh, the famous Annie Humphreys, Scott Cole, Dwight Miller, Tim Hartley? I mean, just all these amazing faces that you see here. And it, you know, what an experience. You know, how blessed was I to be surrounded by these giants? Now, was it intimidating? Yes, but I was surrounded by giants. And so when you've got people around you that are doing extraordinary work, you just want to be part of it. And I saw some of the most incredible hair designs be born during that period of time, which was pretty amazing.
That's awesome. So tell me how, like, I'm going to go on to the next question after I ask you this. Tell me the timeline between when you started at Vidal Sassoon until you became the artistic director.
I was, it was about 2 years.
Wow, that's fast.
It was
You're a
super
fast learner.
Well, because I failed so much. So what I became really good at was these are pictures during my early days of my career. So you can see the geometry. You can see like the drama of the shapes that I was creating, the undercut, the hair moving left and right, all are with my scissors. The precision and the tightness of the haircut. Do you see how tight it is? And I was developing my style. And then, you look at these things now and you think, I don't have the courage to do that, right? But they were so precise. And then, was I into spiders? But we got into disconnection and we got into channel cutting, so tight graduation through the side. And this is a client, by the way. And then I went crazy, right? So before she had her haircut to this, it was a bob with a chopped top. And we had a group from Israel come over and they were at the academy and they said to me, if I did a hairstyle like this in Israel, I'd be put in prison. Anyway, you think this is ridiculous? This session today is about ridiculous. I then went here.
Yeah.
And she loved this. And look at how precise my bob is. Look at how precise my graduation is. So we think undone is new. This is 40 years old. So it's so funny to laugh at your own work, right? And so anyway, I still have those belts, by the way. I just love those belts. And so that was kind of that part. But before we get into the whole Canadian story, I think we should just go over some important questions that you have. But I just wanted to set the ground for my obsession for precision, my obsession to do things like to the highest level, because I came from such an insecure place.
And I love that about you. I love how you're always raising the standard, not only for yourself, but for all of us. And that kind of takes me into my next question is about being, entering the editorial world. You've said before, like you were terrified. So how did you still do it, even with all of that fear?
Well, it's interesting because at Vidal Sassoon's, we were, especially at that time, the masters of haircutting in the world. Everyone wanted to come to Sassoon's to learn how to do precision haircutting because they didn't know how to do it. And it was a true revolution. And before I joined Sassoon's, people would queue outside to get in to have their hair done. People would, if they did an audition for apprentices, there would be a queue for them. So the demand was so high, something we've never, ever seen since that time. So to be accepted into Sassoon's was really a big deal. To go through their training program, which we actually shared in the last mentoring session. So do check that out, the very beginning of my training and those learns. So I went to college for 2 years and I learned theatrical hairdressing. And Sassoon's knew that and they thought, well, she'll be great editorially. So off I went and I had no idea about how an image is created for a magazine and so on and so forth. So I worked with some of the top photographers and I hadn't got a clue. And I just thought, well, I'll just pick a hairstyle off the shelf and just stick it on her head, or I'll just do what I'm comfortable with, which is more honest. And it had nothing to do with the story. And they kept saying it doesn't fit the story. And I'm thinking, what story? It's a picture of a hairstyle, right? What's the story got to do with this? Once upon a time, there was Jack and Jill. Like, I don't get it. And they were like, this is a story. This is a collection. And years later, I then understood the power of a story. And each of us has a story. Sarah has a story of who Sarah is and how Sarah shows up. Every single one of you, Kim, Michael, we've got somebody here, Melissa, Phyllis, you've all got a story. And that story is your identity. And in a photograph, it has an emotion. It has a story that is being told. I didn't understand any of that. And so I got shouted at quite a lot. I got told that my hair was terrible quite a lot. And I'm thinking, but I've been practicing so hard. So what's the moral of the story? Number one, when you lack confidence, immerse in educating yourself from the best of the best of the best, which doesn't mean scrolling. It means focus with intentionality. Second thing, when you don't know, you have to go out to somebody who has not only done it, but done it in the most extraordinary way. So you learn from the best, because if you're going to invest in learning, why would you invest in learning halfway when you could invest in learning with the best of the best in the world? And today you can do that virtually, where before that wasn't even accessible, right? And so that was such a profound thing for me to understand. So I learned by failing forward, but there was no guide, there was no mentoring, there was no direction. And in the end, I felt so broken. I would go home crying, thinking, oh my God, I don't know about this photographic world. And then they would say, we're going to send you on another job. I'd say, please don't send me anymore. Please don't send me. I can't handle this. It's too stressful. And I still did, but I didn't take the career of becoming an editorial stylist where that's only the thing I am doing. I said, I can't handle that. And ironically, my world shifted to going into a different direction, which was the shows and the educational world, which was really quite different. So I think there's the mindset, and then there's the dexterity skills, right? The aptitude and the attitude around it. And I did have the skills to do it, but I had not been trained how to use those skills.
It's like trial by fire.
Yeah. And you know, so many times, Sarah, you can do a lovely hairstyle, right? And you can get pushback from somebody. And on a photo shoot, it can be the art director, the photographer, the makeup artist, the fashion stylist. It can be a slew of people that are giving you pushback. When you're in a salon, you can get pushback not only from the client, but maybe from the family. When the client goes home, she got pushback. So it can magnify. And it's very hard not to take it personally. So another profound moral of the story is when things go wrong, the first place to go is, what is the learn here? What do I need to learn? Because if I can learn, I will move up and through this in a very profound way.
Definitely. So did that take you then? So you have traveled the world, and what was the motivation to do that? What was your drive to do that?
Actually, I think for some strange reason, they thought I would be good on a stage. And bear in mind, I came from a theatrical background. So I was originally a dancer. So I knew the stage world. That had been my home since I was 4 years old. And my mother put me on the stage because I was so painfully shy. I was, my first day of school as a 4-year-old, I would not eat my school dinner. My first day of school. And the headmistress came in and said, everyone eats their dinner. I did not know it at the time, but my blood type is a natural vegetarian. And I was never crazy about meat. So I'm 4 years old. And the headmistress says, you're going to eat your steak and kidney pudding because that's what we do. I wouldn't. So she took me and the plate into her office and she force-fed me. I went home that night, traumatized because it's first day of school. No nursery school, literally from the home with my mama and my grandma to now being abused the first day of school. I wouldn't tell my parents what happened, and eventually they found out. So grandma came down to the school with a rolling pin, ready to hit the headmistress over the head with the rolling pin.
I love your grandma.
Yeah.
Can't do that to my Viv.
But the damage that did in confidence and fear of teachers and scared to stand out. Now, the next problem was I had ginger hair, freckles, and bright blue eyes. So I was not like anybody else in school. I was the only girl with ginger hair. And our school, the schools in England are much smaller than here in the United States. There was maybe 100 people in the entire school. But I stood out like a sore thumb. So now I want to be invisible. I'm now terrified of teachers. That is now ingrained in me. So I had to battle all the way through school to find my confidence. So the only place I found that confidence was on the stage dancing, because it was a safe place where I could express myself. So maybe Sassoon saw that I had that performance aspect, and that performance aspect, and also the discipline of being a dancer. So for some of you, maybe you're disciplined as a musician, or you're disciplined in yoga, or disciplined in going to the gym, disciplined in some other area. That discipline, I believe, carries over into your craft. So from that, I always had to fight confidence, because there was that little girl that was still terrified of something horrible happening.
I can relate to that for sure. And then also, I mean, you went from traveling the world, and now you're published in a book, in the Vidal Sassoon book.
Yeah, that was nice. And
so tell me about that.
Anytime you did something really innovative at Sassoon's, there were eyes looking upon you, because there were artistic directors all the way around. So an art director had the power to say, I like that, we're going to photograph it. So I did the look, they liked it, and they said, we're going to photograph it. And that was that. And that was pretty exciting. Again, look at the context of where I came from.
Yes. It's nice to get that validation. So, and, you talked about, you and I were talking about tools of the trade, and how you started using just your shears, and how do you feel that impacted your career?
Well, when you learn a pure method in the industry, it's beautiful, because it gives you that pure result. So scissors, as opposed to razors or thinning scissors or any texturizing tools, you have to master the craft with one tool. You become a purist. And while I enjoy it, and I still do enjoy it, I started to feel very confined, like in a box. And I had this dresswork skill that wasn't being expressed. And I just knew there was something more. And I thought soon it will be time to move on. And I was a real snob. I was a hair snob. Oh, we only do things with the scissors. Oh, we only do it this way, because I was brainwashed or trained to think that way, which at that time served. But nothing stands still. Everything evolves, and we're in a fashion business. So a mindset may work in a certain decade or a certain season, but it may not have a lifespan. And that's where the danger comes in, when you become very rigid and say, oh, I don't use the razor. Oh, no, I don't dress hair. Oh, no, I'd never backcomb hair. Oh, no, I'd never use foils. I freehand paint. You remove all those other creative tools. It's like a chef saying, no, I use salt and pepper. I'm not going to use spices. I'm not going to use seasoning. I'm not going to use herbs. Salt and pepper. That's all we need. No, you get a pretty bland dish, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to spice things up, you have to be open here for the hands to move.
I love that. I definitely think with our ever-changing industry, and I think things change faster now with social media, that we always have to be open to what the tools that are available to us and the ways that we can use them. So I totally agree. Yeah.
We're getting some really great comments in the chat. I'm loving hearing from you. We got, was it fill up my bank? I love that. Making some great comments coming in through there. Thank you so much. What a great name. And some good comments. So please keep them coming in.
Yeah. I like that, fill up my bank. Talk about manifesting. That's good.
Yeah.
Oops, excuse me. Okay. So this is the one I really want to know about. Well, I want to know everything, but especially this. So who did you run away with?
So I ran away to Canada, which was the next part of my life. And it was pretty radical what was going to happen. I went to Vancouver. And these are some of the images of the work that we're going to actually go to State Board in a moment, but I'm going to show you in a moment some of the images. But before we go to State Board, I will tell you a story that I've never shared publicly.
Okay.
Are you ready? So I eloped. I was married to Stephen Mackinder, a beautiful young man, and I eloped with a magician. And he was a student at Vidal Sassoon's, and he was brilliant. He was entertaining, engaging, and producing magic all the time. And I was at that place where I was starting to get bored with the same old. I just wanted more out of my life. I had a beautiful husband who was wonderful. What a beautiful, beautiful man. But I wanted more sparkle. I didn't want even. And some of you watching thrive for even, but I wanted excitement. I wanted the thrill. And when you grow up on the stage, you get the applause, the curtains close, you go away, you rethink about the next performance you're doing. So you get used to the highs, and you also have to handle the lows, right? You have to have an equal strength for this and this, right? So this gentleman comes into my life, and he is a magician, and he says, let's go to Canada, to Vancouver. And there was an incredible opportunity to work with Suki, who's in a wonderful company in Vancouver. Vancouver is the most incredible place to visit. Highly recommend it. And I thought, right, I'm done with London. I'm done. I'm going to go on an adventure. My parents were mortified.
How old were you?
I maybe was about 25.
Okay.
No, actually, no, it must have been about 26. No, maybe 27. I don't know. I was in my 20s.
Okay.
I don't even remember. So anyway, I eloped. I arrived in Vancouver, and it's like, oh my gosh, Vancouver right now is very progressive, but back then it wasn't as progressive. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, everyone's walking around as though they're going to go to a yoga class. But are they all going to yoga? It doesn't look like they're built for yoga, right? And everything was relaxed and undone. And here I am. I've just got off the plane, and I'm edgy, and I'm determined to be edgy because I don't want to look boring. So I'm doing crazy hairstyles on people. So I'm in a market where it's so undone, relaxed, and natural. And I'm doing crazy, edgy, crazy haircuts. And I found an audience, and I created an explosion of trend in Vancouver. And still to this day, I can actually go back to Vancouver and meet people and will say, and I'm not saying this to impress you, but more to impress upon you, that when you're passionate about something and you believe in it, you can make it happen no matter where you live in the world, as long as you do it right. So I had that incredible passion. So I was creating, innovating, and eventually people caught onto it. So going back to the man, I find out that his name is not the name that I think it is. So I'm not going to even say his name. He's actually passed away since then. But number one, he's into drugs. I have no idea what that is because I've never been exposed to it, but I couldn't understand the personality swings. Then he said, well, I said, let's go to the United States. I've got some shows booked. He said, I can't cross the border. I'm wanted. I went, you're what? He was wanted by the FBI. And so the name he had was a fake name. And I'm with a guy that's wanted by the FBI. I'm like Snow White. I'm as squeaky clean as they come. I'm mommy and daddy's goody girl. I was like one of the best employers at Sassoon's. And now I'm with someone who's wanted by the FBI. And I'm thinking, well, how did you get that passport? Well, his parents were extremely wealthy. He was at Berkeley University. He got caught dealing marijuana, which today is not a big deal, right?
Right.
But he got caught, and he, rather than face the situation, his parents were wealthy enough to get him a passport, fake ID, go off and find Vivienne.
That's funny.
Yeah. So now
How long were you with him until you found out?
Oh, it was like a couple of months because it would never have come up until the fact that we wanted to cross the border.
Yeah.
And so then that just was like, oh my goodness. And that's a whole nother story. But I was so naive and so innocent in so many ways. I just always expected the best of people, and I still to this day do. And I like being like, I like to think that people are going to serve and give me the best of themselves, not the worst, because I will always give my very best. Mm-hmm. So I just expect people to treat me back that way. So it was a bit of a surprise. I had an incredible experience in Canada, but the next problem was, let's bring it up on the screen.
Yes, there is.
So now I'm in Canada and they say to me, you have to have a license. I went, what? In Canada, you need a license as you do in the United States. I went, what for? Because in the UK, we don't have licensing. We have a longer training program, and ironically, we don't have licensing. So my initial training was just over 3.5 years, right? And so now I'm told, no, you've got to go and take state board. Well, I look at the whole thing, which takes me back to my early college days, and I think, I'm not going to do that kind of perm. I'm going to do a weave perm and leave soft pieces out, and I'm going to do this and that, and I'm not going to do that kind of haircut. So I won't do their standard perm, which they want you to do. I won't do the standard haircut because my idea is so much better than state board. So I go in there, and they already know, oh, this one, she's the ex-art director of Sassoon. She's some big shot. So they've already targeted me, right? So I don't understand that the water pressure in this place is so different to the water pressure in England. And there's a hose and there's a tap. So I'm neutralizing my weave perm and I switch on the tap, but the water comes out of the hose, but I'm not holding the hose. So the hose is like flapping around like this. It knocks the perm rods out, some of them. It knocks me in the face, and it happens. The two examiners are going by, I get them too. So there's water everywhere. And then they say, why did you leave these pieces out? I said, to make it look fresher and more modern and so on and so forth. Serena thinks she can relate to this. And it's like, oh, shit. And so they said to me, so I failed. And when they told me I failed, I said, you effing kidding me, right? Are you kidding? Mm-hmm. It's like, don't you realize where I come from? And it's like, who cares? So I went and I retook the exam. And when I went in for the second time to take the exam, they went, oh, this is the English woman was an artistic director at Vidal Sassoon. So telling everybody who failed state board last time, and she's back to do it again.
Well, I would say that's intimidating for everybody else there.
Oh, I was going to quit hairdressing. I hated Canada. I hated everybody. I hated every head of hair. I needed my ego to be punched. And I needed to be grounded because that was what was really important. So Sarah, moving forward, none of you know this either. When I came to America, they said, well, you better take state board. I went, I'm not doing that again. So I said, there must be a way around this. There's no way I'm going to sit in one of those stupid classes and do this stupid state board because it's so effing ridiculous, right? It's licensed to kill. Doesn't mean anything. So I'm having one of my pissy fits. So I said, right, I'm going to grab every editorial, every award I've won, and I'm going to put it, the stack was this thick. And I sent the whole thing there. And I said, this is my experience. These are the awards I've won. I've been published in all these magazines. I've traveled the world, blah, blah, blah. I want my license. Guess what?
They gave it to you.
They sent it to me. Yeah.
Good for you.
So I have to show you some of the crazy stuff that I did in Vancouver. This was my dragonfly, right? Yeah. So this is Canadian. This is like in the place that's yoga pants. That's the back. I don't think I could even do that right now. I mean, it's got a crop. It's a concave interior, a concave step, the graduation. I mean, insane, right?
We should do it for the hair designer program for one of the last haircuts. That'd be so fun.
Look at this. I mean, like, really. Hello, people. This is a client. So I cropped the top. I did shark's teeth for some strange reason. And then I did this crazy, crazy graduation. But look at the precision of the graduation.
Did she like it?
She loved it. They all loved it. Yeah, because it was about being different. It was about being creative. It's not about looking the same. It wasn't about a beach curl and balayage. I mean, I know it's lovely on the right person, but please, people, give me a break, right? So then, why not? I was into plumage. Look at this. That took a lot of skill to do that. But bear in mind, punk was still very influential. Punk had been and gone, but punk resurgences kept coming through and coming through. So, yeah, I mean, that's a straight line, right? And so when you see the craziness of what I was doing, again, Vancouver, all these years ago, not a fashion capital, and I'm doing this crazy stuff, but I totally changed the whole hairdressing scene in that place. It was pretty extraordinary what actually happened. And then, of course, occasionally I did a pretty thing, right? So, you know, it was quite extraordinary what happened through that time.
Yeah. And you can tell it was the 80s because of all the, like, the collars and the jewelry and the makeup.
And then this is today. So today, you know, you can still see the nod to my precision world. You can see that I love to move hair around. You can see that I don't want hair to be boring. I want there to be an interesting aspect to it. But it's the evolution. And, you know, your beginnings, great beginnings last a lifetime. And being mentored should never, ever end. And what you always want to be able to do is reinvent yourself and have the courage to feel uncomfortable and reinvent yourself.
Well, and it goes really to my last question for you. You're always on the cusp of change and like on the forefront of change. And I mean, how is it something that you just feel intuitively? Like, tell me about that process for you, what that feels like.
I just think anything stale is stale. And I think there's that climb from a new idea comes in, it's resisted. And then it's worn by the right person or published in the right way or in a movie or something. And it becomes a curiosity and exciting to see something new. And then people get onto the bandwagon and then it becomes popular and then it becomes common. And the moment it goes from popular to common, it loses its magic. Just imagine listening to a piece of music. I think about Adele when she first came onto the scene and, you know, she was so successful with her first album. Everywhere you went, you heard that music and it was great. But then when you're at the supermarket and at the gas station and you're at all these different places and you're hearing the music, what was appealing in the beginning starts to become stale because it's overplayed. And so I think you have to be very aware of overplaying something because it loses its magic for us. And everyone here is creative. Everyone is creative. And it's whether you're allowing your creativity to flow through and flourish. So you hold the keys to your creativity. Nobody else does. And the creative door is not locked. It's open. And you need to just step through and find your voice and your expression. So if you're living in a rural area, why can you not be the best of the best? And why can you not charge a high ticket? And why can't people travel to you if you're fabulous and people know about you and you have something that nobody else is doing? But it's got to be, it's always got to nod to fashion. So the crazy stuff I showed you, the fashion was crazy too. Today, I think fashion is incredibly boring. Incredibly boring. And fashion is trapped because the moment it tries to do something more creative, it goes back to sweats and t-shirts. And because people want to dress down and feel relaxed and casual. But it'll get to a point, just watch a movie from the 50s. The 60s, the 40s, the 50s, you know, just watch those movies and you see women as women. They're stylish, they're put together. We need that again in our industry. We need a haircut revolution Not everyone should wear long hair. We need a haircut revolution, and we need fashion. And the reason that Vidal became so brilliant was he jumped onto the bandwagon of Mary Quant. And Mary Quant created the miniskirt. And Mary Quant created a very straight little silhouette that was 1920s. So Vidal's geometric haircuts, a bob was in the 20s. The firefly hairstyle was in the 20s. He did a modern version. So, we need to embrace and work together as a fashion community to say, come on, guys, we need to shake this up because it's boring right now. And it shouldn't be boring. We've got incredible techniques, incredible technology, but it's become boring.
Agree. Totally. Yeah. Well, thank you for indulging me and answering my questions.
Oh, you're welcome. So next time we're going to be talking about Trevor Sorbie. When I left Canada and my audition with Trevor Sorbie is a story that you'll want to absolutely hear. And what I would say too is that in this journey of what I've shared with you, what are the highlights? When you have fear and insecurities, the only liberator is going to be knowledge and skill. We all need mentors, and ideally it should be the three. You need somebody to mentor you and lead the way. You need somebody by your side that will give you a hug and say, it's okay, darling, you can do it. But then you need to be able to look over your shoulder and think, who can I give back to? Those three qualities are really very, very, very powerful. And having the courage to do things scared is very important. Learn quick. As I said before in the beginning, you'll either learn or you'll win, right? And be open to the extraordinary opportunities that are available within our industry. I've always said, and I've witnessed it so many times, when you develop the skill, the client shows up. It could be a fashion designer. It could be a movie. It could be a TV show. It could be a client that's prepared to pay you double the amount of money. It could be anything. You are the summation of your beliefs.
Absolutely.
And we have to work on ourselves, on our mindset, our entire life. If we want to have fascination, curiosity, intriguing, adventure, growing, evolving, young at heart, not closed-minded, saying, I'll give it a go. Yeah, why not? Let's give that a try. That, to me, is the spirit of true creativity.
I love it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for being with us today. I so appreciate it. And guys, thank you so much. We're seeing some great comments in the chat, and I do appreciate you being here. And so next time we will, as I mentioned before, we'll be talking about the next stage in my career. So this is part 2 in a series. Check out part 1 so you can see it in context. Thank you so much. And please share this with as many friends as you can. If you want to connect with me, it's my name, Vivienne Mackinder, on Instagram, Facebook, my website. If you want to be a guest and come for one of my live virtual workshops and just come along from the comfort of your kitchen or your salon or your lounge or your garden, you can fill out an application, which is on our website. It's called Be a Guest. So if you want to be a guest at one of our events, come along, and I'd look forward to seeing your beautiful face. Thank you so much, guys. And until next time, thank you so much. Lots of love, and bye for now.